Hello, how is everyone doing? This is JR, also known as John Ross, and this is TJRS, the John Ross Show, episode number 14, I think. I believe we're on episode 14. I need to keep count. Uh, Broadcasting live from my newly rearranged, updated set. Yes, those are movies in the background now. Um, from my one bedroom, one bathroom apartment in downtown, almost nearly downtown Kansas City, USA. I'll just drop the USA, Missouri. We'll just say Missouri. It's better that way. It's better that way. Um, Unfortunately, Charlie, my comrade, cohort, co-host, is sadly out sick tonight. He's not feeling well, so for those who will be watching now or later, most likely later, go give him some love. And also go subscribe. Nose itch. Go subscribe to Ferdokia Enemy on Substack. Uh, I think it will make his day. It will brighten his day and make his health, his sickness go away, if you know what I mean. So, having once again had to take one of my much needed breaks away from the streaming podcast broadcast world, and I'm getting all itchy everywhere. Uh, Tonight is sort of just a free flow kind of show. Again, now that Charlie's absent, tonight I'm just gonna do a show, whatever comes off the top of my head, essentially, like every other night. Um, oh, so this happened, obviously, with Alec Baldwin, and yeah, I believe she was a cinematographer. He was on the set of a movie known as Rust, and essentially, if those who have not heard or need reminding, who are not familiar, Mr. Baldwin had a prop gun that he accidentally fired and killed the cinematographer, Halyna Hutchins. I hope I said that right. And I believe a production assistant was. I need to look it up. I think it was maybe a production assistant was injured. Let's see. Ugh. Uh, let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Uh, AP. What the hell? Let me use AP tonight. Uh, Hold on. Hold on. Okay. Let me reshare my screen. And yeah. Okay. I think my computer's starting to get a little annoyed. Anywho, assistant director unwittingly handed Alec Baldwin a loaded weapon, told him it was safe to use in the moments before. This is her. What was her name again? Uh, Halyna Hutchins, the cinematographer. That's right there in front of me. I'm starting to forget. The cinematographer who was accidentally, I should say, shot and killed on the set of the movie Rust. When it happened, I believe, was it last Friday, I believe? Um, to do more work. So, okay, so assistant director unwittingly handed Alec Baldwin a loaded. Did I share my screen? Have I shared my screen? Yes, I did. Okay, good. Everybody can see. Because I know I do that often when I don't. I share my screen and I don't turn on the screen share button. Yeah, I don't want 40% off. Assistant director unwittingly handed Alec Baldwin a loaded weapon and told him it was safe to use in the moments before the actor fatally shot a cinematographer. Court records that were released on Friday. The assistant director announced it was a cold gun in a search warrant filed in a Santa Fe court. Instead, instead the gun was loaded with live rounds. And when Baldwin pulled the trigger Thursday, so it was Thursday, not Friday, correction, on the set of a Western, he killed cinematographer Halyna Hutchins. Director Joel Souza was the person wounded, record, who was standing right behind her. The Santa Fe Sheriff Office obtained a warrant on Friday that investigators could document the scene at the ranch outside of Santa Fe. They sought to examine Baldwin's blood-stained costume from film Rust, as well as examine the weapon that was fired, other prop guns and ammunition, and any footage that may exist. This kind of goes to show you should not play with guns, kids. That's where I stand. Whether they be real or fake or prop or toy, you don't play with guns. Not trying to be preachy tonight, but the gun was one of three of the film's armor Hannah Gutierrez had set on a cart outside of a wooden structure where a scene was being acted according to the records. Assistant director Dave Halls grabbed the gun from the cart and brought it inside to Baldwin, unaware that it was loaded with live rounds. A detective wrote in a search warrant application. It was unclear how many rounds were fired. Gutierrez removed a shell casing from the gun after the shooting, and she turned the weapon over to police when they arrived, the court records show. Halls did not immediately return phone calls and email messages seeking comment. The Associated Press was unable to contact Gutierrez, and several messages sent to production companies affiliated with the film were not immediately returned Friday. The film's script supervisor, Mamie, hope I said that right, Mamie Mitchell, said she was standing next to Hutchins when she was shot. I ran out, called 911, and said, "Bring everybody, send everybody," Mitchell told the AP. The woman is gone at the beginning of her career. She was an extraordinary, rare, very rare woman. Nice thing to say. I will say that much. Mitchell said she and other crew members were attending a private memorial service Friday night in Santa Fe. Baldwin described the killing as a, quote, tragic accident. Hold on, let me try to highlight that. Tragic accident. And then he went on to say, "There are no words to convey my shock and sadness regarding to the tragic accident that took the life of Helena Hutchins, a wife, a mother, a deeply admired colleague of ours. I'm fully cooperating with the police investigation," Baldwin wrote on Twitter. "My heart is broken for her husband, their son, and all who knew and loved Helena." No immediate charges were filed, and the sheriff's spokesman, Juan Rios, said Baldwin was permitted to travel, saying, quote, "He is a free man." So I get back to the Jacobin article in a moment, but I want to Um, I want to ask a question at large, and I think instead of um, I'll just say this: given the fact of Alec Baldwin's statement, hold on, need to do a Google search for a word here. Yeah, I'll say that. Oh, it's not letting me show it, unfortunately, as a secondary text. So I can't put it up on screen, but I asked, is Alec Baldwin culpable rather, for the shooting incident and death of a crew member? Um, that's the question I would like to ask at large. It's kind of the question of the night. Um, it's probably good for the chat as well. Is Alec Baldwin culpable, or does he feel? I should probably reword that. Is Alec Baldwin culpable for the shooting death of Helena Hutchins? Um, I would probably kind of throw my 2 cents in there for a moment and say maybe I mean, obviously he does feel responsible for this, and he has shown some remorse, I think you could say. Um, but then there are those who will take another side of saying he was irresponsible. He should have known better. He was, firing what was a prop gun, but a gun in general in the open area next to several crew members in an unsafe way. Like I said, whether or not no matter what gun it is, and this is the gun control side of me showing. No matter what kind of gun it is, whether it's a prop, a real, a toy, or whatever, um, you shouldn't have guns. At least in that aspect, you shouldn't be playing with guns or using any kind of gun in an unsafe area. So that's my view. So yes, we can. Sorry, feeling a little mellowed out tonight. So um, yes, we could. Of course, yes, we could do this, which is uh, um, do, 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 do. Hold on, I'm trying to find a good. Yeah, that's good. Hold on. Okay, now that I've got the episode right where I want it, there, and I before I make sure I have the... Let me reshare that in one moment. I just want to make sure that I got the audio as well. Whoop. Whoop. Or I didn't mean to disable my camera. Yeah, there we go. Share screen. Okay, yeah. Tab audio has been shared too.
Tonight, the deadly real-life horror unfolding on a movie set in New Mexico. Authorities tonight confirming that actor Alec Baldwin accidentally discharged a prop gun, shooting 2 people on the set of the upcoming Western movie Rust. Helena Hutchins, the 42-year-old director of photography, eventually dying, while director Joel Souza is still undergoing treatment for his injuries. Baldwin, also one of the film's producers, is best known for his starring role in 30 Rock and a recent turn playing Donald Trump on Saturday Night Live. This image, posted earlier today on Baldwin's Instagram, shows him on the set of the movie. An image is taken after the shooting. Baldwin is visibly distraught. The sheriff's department says that no charges have been filed, but that the investigation remains active.
Our thanks to Matt. There'll be much more in this story on GMA in the morning.
All right. So, in that minute-long clip, I guess one could say that Mr. Baldwin does feel, and in my view, he feels remorseful for this accidental death. He's not in any way, feeling, he's not on a bad side or anything. He generally feels remorseful is the only word I can think of. But yeah. So nobody in the chat yet with the question I asked? So, all right. Well, in any event, let's move on. I think to put a period, hopefully, on this topic, and let me screen share myself. Share my screen one more time, or on this subject. So, this was written by Alex Press in Jacobin magazine. A different though related subject. I got my very first copy of Jacobin this past weekend, and I'm very excited. I've decided to start a subscription and start reading the magazine on a daily basis. So something new to look forward to. Anyway, Helena Hutchins' death on the set of Rust, was not a freak accident, according to by Alex Press of Jacobin. Halyna Hutchins' death during the filming of Rust is a tragic consequence of studios prioritizing profit and speed over crew members' lives. Alec Baldwin's culpability isn't about pulling the trigger on a prop gun; it's about his and fellow producers' cost-cutting decisions. So basically, she's taking this. Ms. Press is talking about the long strike, I believe it is, with the there's been some conflicts with the IATSE, the International Alliance of Theater Stage Employees. I can't say the acronym correctly, so I'll just call it the IATSE. So on Thursday, what is today? 26th? So this past Thursday, cinematographer Halyna Hutchins was killed on the set of Rust, on the set of the film Rust, when a prop gun held by actor and producer Alec Baldwin accidentally discharged, killing her and wounding director Joel Souza. The set had been plagued with problems prior to the fatal incident, as the production company, desiring to stick to its low budget and 21-day shooting schedule, cut corners. Six camera crew members, who are part of the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, IATSE, had walked off the set after concerns about safety and working conditions had gone unaddressed. They quit just 6 hours before the fatal shooting incident occurred, and they were replaced by non-union crew members. So basically what was going on was they more or less were trying to unionize, and it wasn't going their way. It wasn't going their way, and they walked off in protest. A producer threatened to call the security if the union crew members did not voluntarily leave the property. The LA Times reports that the crew members were, quote, frustrated by the conditions surrounding the low-budget film, including complaints about long hours, long commutes, and waiting for their paychecks. Comments from Lane Lupper. Is that how you say his name? Looper? Say their name? Looper? A camera operator on Rust, written under a Facebook post. Baldwin made to express solidarity with the IATSE, which is negotiating a new 3-year contracts that cover 60,000 people. Suggest a production that prioritize speed and low labor cost over crew members' lives well before Thursday. And also, Ms. Hutchins herself had been advocating for the better working conditions on the set before her tragic death occurred. Or I wouldn't even use that last word. I'll just say this tragedy occurred. I mean, it's well known. I won't read well into the. You know what? I'm gonna try to post this. This article is so good. The article is so great. I'm actually not gonna be able to read all of it, but I will try as I might to post this in the description link at the end of the show for those who want to read it and want to go support Jacobin, and including the great work of Alex Press and the other guys and gals at the magazine. That said, this kind of spurred off a sudden interest to look into film, the conditions in the film industry, specifically with unionizing and better working conditions within the IATSE. This is Brendon Gallagher. Would workers strike by entertainment industry will grind to a halt. October 1st, crew members of most union film and television productions in the United States will decide whether to go on strike for fair pay. So this has already happened, seeing as it's 26. So they have gone on strike, or they were on strike. I don't know if they're still on strike or not. Could not hurt to look that up. Will decide whether to go on strike for fair pay, adequate rest, and regular breaks, things that should be given but are hard to come by in Hollywood. Of course, while streaming companies have posted record profits, rank and file union members have seen their quality of life erode with stagnant wages and assaults on their health and pension plans. Skilled workers years into their careers are making a little more than $15 an hour. Crew members are sharing horror stories of car accidents after 18-hour days and health issues stemming from being denied bathroom breaks. Oh, that is very terrible. I'm just going to put that on the line right now. That is the most terrible thing anyone can do, is to, out of all the things that could happen to workers on a movie or a TV set, or TV show set, being denied going to the restroom is like one of the weirdest things. I mean, one of the terrible things. I'm just gonna be honest, but also one of the weirdest things ever. Like, you can't go to the bathroom when you can't. Wow, weird. If workers vote yes on the upcoming strike authorization, the strike will be unprecedented for their union and significant for the entire labor movement. The IATSE has never actually struck all of its West Coast locals at once. An estimated 60,000 IATSE members could walk off the job in the coming weeks, which would be the biggest private sector strike of the United States in over a decade. The last time I had seen a strike of this magnitude in Hollywood or anywhere was the 2007-2008 WGA strike, when the writers working on several popular shows, and I believe it was TV shows. I don't know if movies were affected. I have to go back and look. They were not being paid well. They were being. This is what this reminds me of, was the strike in that time, where again the writers wanted to get their fair share, because again, without successful television, without the writers, I should say, doing a majority of the work, not a majority of work, but like, a good part of the work is what I'm trying to say. You wouldn't have good TV and you wouldn't have good movies. So, and you gotta support your writers, folks. It's all that really matters, I mean, it's one of the things that matter, is support your writers, people who aspire to do those jobs. Makes the world go around, But anyway, that's what this reminds me of. This worker strike with the IATSE is curiously maybe similar but different to the writer's strike of 07-08. Because I remember that strike. I remember when a lot of shows, I think a lot of them went on hiatus, because again there was a picket line, and if you crossed it, you were considered on the bad side, so to speak. You were on the good side if you stayed on the side of the rioters on the picket line, if you know what I mean. But yeah, let's see. Workers vote yes. Okay. Has never actually struck down its West Coast locals at once. An estimated 60,000 IATSE members could walk off the job in the coming weeks, which would be the biggest private sector strike in the United States in almost a decade. Striking workers could include almost everyone who works on a film set. Yeah, besides directors, writers, and actors. In show business, we use the term below the line to describe this group, which includes camera operators, grips, costumers, script supervisors, writers, assistants, set decorators, and many more. The term comes from the actual positions of names of call sheets when writers, directors, and top-billed acting talent are placed above the line, without below the line workers. The films and shows you watch would never get made. I mean, yeah, very much so. Without all that, all the personnel, without the writers and the writers' assistants and the set directors and the producers and the lighting and all that good stuff, a lot of movies and TV shows that we fan over would not really exist. To be honest, I keep using that word, to be honest. That's like one of my catchphrases. I gotta like write a list of catchphrases that I use. Individuals of the IATSE rather have struck before. 1941 saw the famous Disney animator strike, sparked by Walt Disney's failure to share profits on Snow White. This era of militancy in Tinseltown culminated in the 1945 strike of the nascent set directors local, which is remembered as the most violent strike in Hollywood history. And this is I can't make the picture bigger. This was the animator strike, where in reality, well, partially in reality, Walt Disney wasn't sharing his, given his share, or the animator's share of the work they did. Um, there's a semi-fascinating documentary, but interestingly enough, surprising documentary on what they call the secret lives of Walt Disney. And I don't know if it's still on YouTube or not. You have to go check that out. I actually watched it a couple weeks ago. Or not a couple. Watched it not a couple weeks ago. I watched it a while back, and it was really interesting. It talked about this the animators and the writers picketing for their share in the Disney animated work, the work that they did at Disney. Um, 'Cause the Uncle Walt, as he was known, wasn't the fun-loving Midwesterner that from Missouri that people knew and loved, or would want to know and love, to in today's standards. Again, if you want more, go see go find the documentary. It's called Secret Lives of Walt Disney. I think it was a series in the late, probably early '90s. And I gotta say, called Secret Lives of Walt Disney. Uh, and it talks about this, talks about the picketers and the strike, the animator strike, but also just Disney's personality and how he was behind closed doors. Um, to me, it shocked me because I grew up on Disney, but when I say that, I mean I grew up on Disney movies. Again, I'm from that '90s generation that uh loved those classics, those what they call the Disney Renaissance is what it was known by. Um, anyway, since the then lingering post-blacklist anti-communism of the industry and the Reaganite liberalism in society at large have led to a mass militant climate. Even so, the Writers Guild of America (WGA) has struck 6 times since World War II, while the actors have walked out full-time 4 times, once ironically led by then Screen Actors Guild President SAG President Ronald Reagan himself. The more boss-friendly DGA, or Directors Guild of America, has only struck once, for a total of 3 hours and 5 minutes, roughly the length of a lunch meeting at the Ivy. That's how long. Weird. If the upcoming IATSE strike authorization vote and subsequent bargaining result in a strike, it would be one of the largest in Hollywood history, maybe even larger than the WGA strike in again in '07, '08. And with so many different crafts walking out, would also be the most disruptive. Film and television in the United States would grind to a halt. Yes, yes, it would. It would definitely grind to a halt, and it would affect, of course, many of the people who work on film and TV sets. It would affect the actors, would affect the crew, it would affect the head of what they call I call them the head honchos of those uh, the big networks, the cable networks, and of course the streaming like Netflix and Hulu and Peacock and HBO Max and all those streaming networks that we have since subscribed to since the pandemic began. Loving this Pepsi Cola, folks. Although I probably should stop drinking Pepsi. Not only because I think it's bad. Of course, it is bad for me. But unless something is going on at a Pepsi plant in I just throwing a town out there, North Carolina, I probably need to dump this out in the sink. But Can anyone see me, by the way? I mean, I hope you can. I know my lighting is kind of off, but I wish I had better lighting. Ugh, well, oh well. We'll have to get used to it. We'll figure it out as I go along. But yeah. New militancy at the end. I'll finish this off. How long is this article? You know what? I'm gonna finish it because I'm starting to enjoy this. Um, the new militancy of the end of quote unquote new media. The WGA traditionally sets pattern for Hollywood. The DGA bargains first, and the WGA goes second, but tends to bargain more aggressively. Through the WGA membership and leadership were prepared to walk the picket line. They were unable to strike during their last contract negotiation, which unfortunately fell during the height of COVID-19. As a result, IATSE has since found itself in a unique position set in the tone of Hollywood labor. Oh. Had to sneeze, folks. Sorry. I'm sorry. That was embarrassing a little bit. Ugh, that was embarrassing. I had to sneeze, but oh well. I tried to get serious there for a moment and I felt a sneeze coming on. Okay. Where was I? For 13 months, uh, 13 West Coast locals have been in negotiation with the, oh boy, AMPTP, the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, which represents companies like, oh no, oh no, oh no, another sneeze. Oh, good Lord. Gracious. I'm not sick. I promise you. I promise you I'm fit as a fiddle. Uh just happens, you know. Uh 13 West Coast locals have been in negotiation with the Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television Producers, which represents companies like Disney, Amazon, and Viacom. Although I think that should be Viacom CBS because they've remerged into one. It's been 2 years since they merged back into one company. All reports indicate that the union and bosses are failing to see eye to eye on numerous bargaining points. What's at stake is the stalemate of no less than the future of the industry in the era of streaming. In this era of streaming, folks, is it's definitely here to stay. Just throwing it out there. Def- Definitely here to stay. Ugh. In the early 2000s, streaming services were classified as new media, and various entertainment contracts became because their future was viewed as uncertain. As the footprint of these companies and their profits have skyrocketed, the overly generous deals they received as new media enterprises have largely stayed in place. Consequently, streaming services have been able to offer lower pay, enjoy less restrictive rules, and owe lower residuals, even though they have replaced traditional film and television companies in terms of output and income. So, I guess when you would call traditional film and TV companies would be like going to the movies and sitting down at a movie theater and watching it on a big screen, something like that, something around those lines. And as far as TV companies sitting down and watching on a normal, not really a normal size TV, because we all have those big screen TVs, all those smart TVs that we now spend $1 million on. Uh, Traditional film and television companies in terms of output and income. Today's entertainment industry workers are doing the same work as previous generations for less pay while companies post unprecedented profits. If you worked on Friends, you probably own a house. If you work on WandaVision, you're probably still renting. Workers don't even have clarity to how many people see fruits of their labor. Tech companies are notoriously protective of their consumer data and offer digital residuals that fixed quarterly payments rather than payments tied to actual viewership. The upshot is that someone who works on a massive hit like Stranger Things gets the same residual payment as someone who has a hand in creating a quickly canceled one season wonder. So I guess in a sense it'd be like Stranger Things is still on the air. It's still on Netflix. And uh, the people that work on that show, the more successful it gets, uh, the bigger the residuals come. And if that same company, that same network, had a show that was successful, but the ratings were kind of, they weren't so good, and you just keep, trying new things to get the ratings going, to get the ratings up rather, and it just doesn't work, and it gets canceled. You know, that person probably gets a little less than someone who works on a hit show that's more successful. And so I think the change is that both of those, any of the people that worked on a show that's continually going and one that just lasts no more than one season, uh, could be able to be paid equally, because it could go the other way around, which is the one season canceled show gets, the people that worked on there get less pay, get less pay. They also get less work in residuals. Um, if that makes any sense. All right. Let's finish. Yeah, let's finish. The rise in so-called new media has not only resulted in lower wages in Hollywood, but also brought long simmering quality of life issues to a head. One key issue is the negotiations and turnaround. The industry turnaround. This word. If I can just highlight it. If my no, not mandatory. I mean turnaround. This here. The industry term for how much time workers get between days of work. The minimum 10-hour turnaround is supposed to be mandatory for crew, but this is not often honored. A popular graphic created by the IATSE features a bloodshot eye, give us a rest at night and on weekends. So let's see if I can find that graphic, and then I'll come back to this. Oh, it's on Instagram. Oh, that's. I was expecting something a little bit more gruesome, but hey, I guess it works. I guess that works. That's really saying something. Okay, back to the article. That's one weird art. That's one weird eye, by the way. Camera and lighting crew locals have been particularly vocal on this issue. In a rare move, a group of 14 top cinematographers, including Roger Deakins from No Country for Old Men, Emmanuel Chivo Lubezki, hope I pronounced that right, and Ellen Kuras, recently penned an open letter, excuse me, calling on the AMPTP to, quote, increase daily rest periods and implement weekend rest periods to ensure the physical and mental health of every member of the crew. And for that, I will say that is on point. Because yeah, films and television, when you're making productions like this, it is a grind, a really freaking grind. I mean, you're I mean, of course, all TV and movies are the productions differently. Some take less than weeks to happen. Some take days. Some take months. And for the ones that take months, that is a long ass period of time. Sorry to say that, but a long old period of time. And it can be effective on a crew member's mental health and their well-being. So yeah, I definitely would, looking at that graphic again real quick, pulling up that graphic one more time. Yeah, I mean, I can't even think of anything positive, anything to say. It just, you know, like, let's let them take their days off. Let certain crew members, or if not all the crew members, have days where they just take a day off and just rest themselves. You know, be able to live the life they want to before they have to come back on the set. So yeah. Having gotten started in locations of productions, I can attest that 14-hour days or longer are par for the course in Hollywood. The reality is that penalties for overtime are not enough to deter producers from pushing crews to the brink. Yeah. Wages and working hours are not the only issues on the table. Each of the 13 locals contains many crafts, and all of them have their own bargaining points to address. The Instagram account at IA Stories has been collecting anonymous workplace horror stories from rank and file union members. The account has amassed over 90,000 followers as of this writing. Its feed is full of shocking stories detailing what Hollywood workers put up with every day. If you scroll through their posts, you'll see everything from production assistants being asked to break the law to camera operators being denied bathroom breaks. We said in the beginning of this conversation, I mean, why are you denying crew members and PAs able to use the restroom? I mean, that is the most abhorrent thing I can even fathom. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest. I'm gonna be blunt. Denying them to use the restroom, I mean, that is so freaking crazy. Okay? It's so crazy. Anywho, there's a lot. You know what? Let's find a video, because I actually, speaking of using the restroom, I do have to use the restroom. I will sort of play that. There's a lot on the table, that particularly in work environment in Hollywood. The themes are negotiations echo over recent labor disputes across the country. Tech industry disruption has led emboldened corporate management to squeeze the craftspeople and artists who make their media content. For example, Quibi's short-lived business model was predicated on underpaying their crews, and copycats are sure to follow in its wake. So Quibi, which is now like pretty much all of its content is now owned and operated by Roku. And yeah. So I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen for a moment. About YouTube. Speaking of YouTube and Roku, they are in battle. I'll just kind of break this. They are in a battle with each other. They've been in a battle with each other since April of this year. For those who are probably new to Roku, you've noticed that there isn't Roku YouTube TV on as an app. If you're new to Roku, if this keeps up, if they can't come up with a deal by December 9th, I believe it is, the YouTube app will be pulled from the Roku channel store until a new deal is made, and the feud, so to speak, is resolved. hopefully, fingers crossed, deep breath, that something like that can this will be resolved. So, I'm not sharing my screen, so yes, I'm trying to find a good story because I actually have to use the restroom. Speaking of that, uh, uh I want to find like a long form. Okay, we'll just use PBS NewsHour. So, okay, let me do this, and I have to use unfortunately use the restroom, and I will be back shortly here in a minute. So whilst I am my business, you can I'll take the titles off. Just check this the being on the subject of the workers' strike in the IATSE. So here we go.
This weekend, the Entertainment Workers Labor Union, IATSE, reached an agreement on a new film and TV contract, averting a strike that would have ground productions across the country to a halt. But it is not the only showdown taking place between workers and employers. And after over a year of risky and demanding work on the front lines of the pandemic, as Stephanie Sy reports, many workers say they've had enough.
Judy, thousands of American workers are on strike, and thousands more are preparing to walk out in what some on social media have dubbed Striketober. Last Thursday, workers at farm equipment maker John Deere walked out over pay, working conditions, and benefits. From Kellogg's cereal factories to film sets and hospital workers, dissatisfaction is leading to strikes and threats of work stoppages. 24,000 nurses and other healthcare workers in California and Oregon voted to allow a strike after negotiations stalled with private hospital group Kaiser Permanente. The collective action from workers comes in the middle of a tight labor market and in a year when many companies have posted record profits. We turn to Rebecca Given. She is an associate professor of labor studies and employment relations at Rutgers University. Professor Given, thank you so much for joining the NewsHour. So what are the major forces that have unleashed this discontent among workers in various sectors that we're seeing?
Well, the labor market is tight, but these workers have experienced a lot during the pandemic. Many of them continued working, whether in the food supply chain or in healthcare. Many of them saw their employers bring in record profits while they were putting their health, their lives on the line, often risking the health and lives of their families. And they're really seeing this stark demonstration that their employers don't care that much about them. They don't care about their well-being. They don't care about sharing profits with employees. And they're really reaching their limit. They're absolutely maxed out.
So I'm hearing that you believe this is a byproduct of the pandemic, especially for those essential workers. What other similarities do you see in what workers are asking for across industries?
Workers are asking for dignity and respect on the job. They're asking for control over their time. Many of these strikes are especially focused on mandatory overtime, where workers aren't getting their time off between shifts. They're not getting their weekends. They're being forced to work an inhumane number of hours because demand is so high. And they're also pushing back against two-tier systems where newer employees are paid less or have worse benefits than longstanding employees. A lot of these two-tier systems were developed when times were tough and the workers thought it was a way to support their employer. But what they're finding is that when times are good, when employers are making money, they're not sharing the good times with their employees, and they're really pushing back on that.
I'm sure a lot of workers can relate to that two-tier system that you're talking about, but my question is, are organized strikes and unions still the most effective path for workers to express their grievances, especially given that union participation is still at a historic low?
Yeah, for unionized workers, withdrawing your labor or going on strike is really the ultimate weapon. But workers are participating in a number of different actions, whether or not they're unionized. So we're seeing non-union workers walk off the job together and demand more, whether it's a fix to the air conditioning in overheated workplaces or higher wages. And we're seeing unionized workers strike too. We're also seeing workers who don't have the opportunity to act together by going on strike, simply quitting and taking a better job elsewhere because the labor market is tight and other jobs are available.
We have seen some headwinds against workers and organizing, including from big corporations such as Amazon, which this year successfully defeated efforts for unionization at its place. But there is a massive labor shortage right now, Professor. So I wonder, how do you think labor unions are viewing this opportunity?
Right now, we're in a situation where labor law is really stacked against workers who want to form a union. So even though the labor market is tight and workers do have the ability to demand a bit more, it's still extremely hard to organize a union in your workplace. We saw that at Amazon in Bessemer. Right now at Starbucks in Buffalo, we're seeing the resources that an employer will put into fighting off an organizing drive. And the labor law really protects workers, really protects employers as they push back against workers. So even though it would seem like it's a good time to organize, it's still extremely difficult for workers who don't have a union to form one.
And Professor Given, I just want to ask one question, which is from the corporate point of view. We know that inflation is raising prices for consumers. There are supply issues in the economy right now. Do these work stoppages potentially worsen things?
Work stoppages can lead to higher wages, of course, as workers win their demands on the by going on strike. But employers are making choices all the time. They're engaging in stock buybacks. They're paying dividends. They're paying significant pay to executives. And there are many ways they can redistribute their profit or decide to budget in different ways that can allow them to pay workers more without passing that entire increase onto consumers. So we have to understand that corporations are making choices. It's not a simple calculation that increased wages lead to increased consumer prices.
Rebecca Given, a professor at Rutgers University. You've given us a lot to think about. Thank you.
Thank you.
This week.
Okay, so I'm back from the restroom. I hope everyone can see me and hear me. Lighting's kind of bright. It's the most awkward thing to do when you have to readjust yourself during a live show. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of the part and parcel of the entertainment industry is workers and people, workers like and crew members wanting to get their fair share and get their fair pay. I mean, it's more than it's just it's work, and people want to get their fair share. So, and I am going to actually put these two articles, the Rust article by Alex Press and the Hollywood worker strike article by Brendon Gallagher in the YouTube link, or try if I might try to put it in the YouTube link, and then if it doesn't work there, I'll just share it when after the show, and for listeners and viewers of the show to go, or well, viewers anyway, to go check the show, check those articles out, because they're really good pieces of journalism, really good pieces of progressive left journalism, democratic socialist journalism, print journalism, if I may say, if I may mention, if I may flatter, even though I've been told that flattery will get me nowhere. I understand that, but you can't help but be complimentary sometimes. Just part of the work, part of the show, right? With that said, let's go on to something. Let's see, what else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Man, trying to think here. Oh, I wrote another Substack article, which I've now decided to so this article is one of mine, and I am exceedingly proud of it. I just finished it. It's my recent blog post. This is embarrassing. I hadn't written on my official Substack in a while, and I always, like, at the end of the show, I'm always saying, like, you know, read me on Substack, and like I haven't been able to sit down and write for such a long time. So today, when I say write, I mean write a blog. So today I chose to write about personal fanship, and it is about the band Coldplay and why they can do no wrong. And I'm putting my own bias out there. I mean, I'm a fan. Generally speaking, I've been a fan since I was 8 years old. Since the late summer of 2000. Um, and a lot of this was written sort of on the spot. So uh, I kind of just had to go with what I could. Yeah, but so this is my new blog piece, if you don't mind me mentioning it, which is again, it's called "Why Coldplay Could Do No Wrong." It's on TJRS.substack.com. It's partly just a desire to write more, as well as do the podcast, and also partly to express my personal fanship of the band. Because I've been a fan since I was 8 years old when I first heard Yellow for the first time, and my number one regret was not buying Parachutes, the first record, when it came out in 2000. That's like the number one thing I wish I could have. One thing I wish I could have done was buy their first record. So kind of as a compensation, as I was writing the blog, I listened to the album on YouTube as I was writing, and kind of got me flowing. You know what I mean? Got me flowing. It got my creative juices for the band to write about my history of the band. Also, I have to say it was the documentary that came out a couple years ago. I just bought it. It's called A Head Full of Dreams. It's, I guess, named after the album of the same name. I saw the documentary recently, and I actually found it to be pretty good, despite the apparent mixed reviews that it has gotten. I mean, it's really, really, really good. But again, I am biased. I am again, my own personal fanship went into this article. To this article. So yeah. So that's the new blog post that I've written in a long, long time. I gotta say, I actually think I found like a really, really good picture of them. Because this is at a time when they were still before they went into the pop world. Uh, this is back when they were still maybe like post Britpop, alternative rock kind of. They were still kind of in their Oasis phase, maybe, or maybe in their phase of Travis and Blur and REM, which is another band that I like. Um, and speaking of Jacobin, I forget who the guy was who wrote the article. Mika Utrecht shared the article, the interview article of Michael Stipe of REM, which I read and I just loved it. It was really, really good. It's on Jacobin. It was an interview with Michael Stipe of REM, where he talks about his music, his leftist political beliefs. He's a democratic socialist, which uh, makes me happy, makes me very, 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 very happy. Also, he's obviously a Bernie Sanders supporter. So yeah, it's a real good article on Jacobin. Uh, you know what? I'll just say who wrote that article. I'll see who wrote it, and uh, hold on. Trying to think who wrote it, or who interviewed. Garrison Lovely was the guy who wrote or who interviewed Michael Stipe. He's a freelance writer in Brooklyn. He co-founded Cornell's Prison Reform and Education Project, and he hosts the podcast The Most Interesting People I Know. Oh, that's nice. That's cool. The Most Interesting People I Know. That'll be a very good podcast to listen to. But yeah, he interviewed Michael Stipe of REM, formerly of REM, because they've been broken up for 10 years. Ooh, my my headphones are starting to get all staticky. I hope it pulls through the remainder of the hour. Um, yeah, that the article is it's this article. It's on my screen share. Uh, yeah, it is this article. Uh, Garrison Lovely, who interviewed again Michael Stipe, formerly of REM, for Jacobin magazine. Uh, I would have to be honest and say that I kind of fanboyed over this article when Mika, I should say, when Mika Utrecht shared it on his Twitter. I then retweeted and said, okay, before I lose my nerve that this article is out there, uh, I just had to say I'm a huge fan of him and his music. Uh, it's awesome. It's cool. I mean, the respect I have for Jacobin now for the magazine is has gone really high now that they've interviewed a legend like this gentleman here, because he is in every way, shape, and form. So yeah, you should read this interview. It's really cool. It's a really cool interview, and that's kind of what I not really base my own article off of, but I guess I hadn't really thought of that. I would say that ugh, lighting issue is just becoming so unbearable. Barely see myself there. Maybe if I like step away from the Zoom, people could see me better. Yeah. So I'm running out of things to say, and it's only 8:10. Got like another hour. I wish people would chat more so they can give me ideas to talk about. Say, hey, talk about this issue. Why don't you talk about this issue? And I would go right into it. I'm not kidding. I would definitely go into it. But what else? Oh, nah, I won't talk about that. Not yet. Not yet. I'm still debating whether or not to talk about what happened with Novus. No, Novus Media. Is that how you say it? Uh, hold on. I gotta. Um, trying to think how what they're called because they're Navara Media. Um, their YouTube channel was taken down today, and then it was reinstated. But I felt like I saw what happened there earlier today before going on air, and I thought I would talk about it, but I'm kind of like maybe it'd be a little too risky at the moment, so I'll try to save that for another show. But I'll save it. I'll try to save it. Some of the more controversial topics that I would love to talk about in the progressive left media community. Uh, I want to talk about them, but you never know what'll happen. You never know what happens. You talk about something like that, and then most people go haywire that you talked about it. So, got an itch in my newly grown beard. It's No Shave November next month. I usually start early with No Shave November. Uh, it it makes me feel good. It's like just start No Shave November, and I feel better. I feel I feel I feel like myself when I have a beard. I mean, yeah, you have to kind of live with the itchiness of it, but you have to live with the itchiness of the beards. But you get used to it. I get used to it. I can get used to it for a couple months, and then usually around January or February, I tend to give it a little trim, and then March I tend to shave it all off and have the clean shaven face for spring. But now that spring is over and winter is fast approaching, I think it's time for me to start growing the facial hair out today. It was funny because I was in class with my math teacher, and of course, we have to wear masks in the classroom to protect ourselves from the COVID. And I'm usually the first one in class every Tuesday and Thursday. And so my math teacher says to me today, "Hey, I could see through the mask. You're growing your beard out." It was so funny. Actually, I pulled my mask down and was like, "Yeah, you can definitely see it. You can definitely see the beard." But how, I guess I wish there was a chat, an active chat going on. But how is everyone else kind of feeling? Have most of you, if not all of you, gone back to somewhat of a pre-COVID normal life, while still being, protective of yourself from COVID? Because this is the first time in a few months since I've been back in person in school. So it's it feels nice, you know. Feels feels good. I still have to kind of deal with the test and the work and all that, but you know, what time is it? It's 8:16. I hate to do this. I know that if RC was here, if Charlie was here, I'd be on longer. But and I know that this is becoming too much of a habit. But I promise you, as I get better, as I get as I start to do less free flow and more functional stories, I'll be on longer. But I'm gonna sign off this evening. It's great to be back after a long few weeks off. So I guess I give you a rundown of what's to come tomorrow. So I wasn't on the air last week because there was some scheduling conflicts, and this weekend, today my internet connection is now back up and running for the first time in the weekend since over the weekend. And I believe this past weekend, Charlie, uh, RC Roberts, again, a Proki enemy, we were going to watch and talk about the Anna Kasparian Ben Shapiro debate that happened, I think about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Um, and I still want to watch it because I hadn't watched it yet, and I want to talk about it. That's been on my agenda for the last week, and I think RC and I should, Charlie and I talked about it, and we said we'd do it. And then he went to visit some family in Nebraska, and we kept having to push it back, postpone it, and unfortunately, he is out with the sick today. So hopefully tomorrow, if he is back, we're definitely gonna watch the show. We're gonna watch the debate and then comment on it. I'm really looking forward to that. It should be fun. So, with that said, I'm gonna just end the stream a little earlier than planned. Um, Mainly because I'm getting kind of tired. I need my beauty rest. I need to sleep. So, uh, let's see, graphics? No, not graphics yet. You know, watch the show Monday through Friday on YouTube, Twitch. I should change that graphic to include Twitter and Facebook because we're now on there. People who are on social media can catch me there as well. Uh, of course, now read me on Substack. I finally have my next article up, which is the Coldplay article, or the Coldplay blog, I should say. TJRS.substack.com. I'm gonna try to do that more often as I can. Kind of balance it with doing this as much as I can. You can also follow me on the social medias. Twitter handle is at John Ross 1992. Facebook is John Ross, and Twitch is Jonathan Ross. All one word, all one big word. Donate to the Patreon if you can. I actually did check, and there's no one donating. I got to work on that, folks. But I would just say, if you can, when you can. It's no big deal. Uh, you could donate as much as if you want to keep the show going. And hopefully, if the show grows and I get a staff, I could be able to fairly pay them a decent salary, if that's not a bad thing. I hope it's not a bad thing. I'll have to kind of talk over with Charlie and see what he says, because he might know a little bit more about this than I. Maybe, I don't know. As always, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. I don't know if Twitch has a like and subscribe. I mean, maybe you can like the video on Twitch and subscribe to that. You can subscribe on Twitch, but if you're on YouTube, please hit the like button if you shall, if you must. So, with that said, I am signing off for the night. I know early, but I again have to get my sleep. So, I will most definitely see you tomorrow. I hope I will see you tomorrow with Charlie, talking about watching and commenting on the Kasparian Shapiro debate. If not, if it just so happens that might not happen, I will let you know when I can. So, with that said, have a good night. I enjoyed company. I hope that you will watch this, if not now, in the future as it goes up. So, left is best. Rest in power, Michael Brooks. Rest in power, Ed Asner. And I will hopefully, with Charlie, see you tomorrow.